Good morning, everybody. I think if the tech is working, we are live. Welcome to this first event of the festival. This is quite terrifying, if I'm absolutely honest. Amazing to see so many people here. Thank you. So I can see the comments. You guys should also be able to see the comments. There should be a chat box in the right-hand side of your screen. So you can chat to each other in there. You can ask questions. I will do my very best to keep an eye on questions and answer them as I'm going along. Thank you all for being here. As a start, for this has blown me away that, you know, from an idea that was brewing away just 2 weeks ago to being here now and to having over 2,000 people in the Facebook group and such an amazing lineup is absolutely mind-boggling. And I just think hugely affirming that there is so much desire still for action on the climate crisis, even with this kind of more immediate crisis that we're all facing and we're all dealing with. I think this is quite a unique time. Obviously it's a unique time, but like for the festival, in that, you know, when else would we get 5 days when people can kind of kick back and be prepared to spend 5 days in front of a screen or watching on replays or anything. So thank you all. We've got people from Staffordshire, Fordingbridge, Cornwall. It's raining in some places. Bristol, Worcestershire. Sue says she's got her wellies on. Glenn from Barcelona. That's very exciting. And I love the fact that Linda says it must be important to her. It's the first time for a fortnight she's been up and breakfasted before 9 a.m. So you and me both, Linda, we have been enjoying some lions. If you caught my live earlier, you will know that we're very much going for an informal festival vibe. I've just had to do a quick relocate. I was planning to be in the kitchen, but the kids are in there doing some bits and pieces. So my 2 kids are home with me, obviously. My husband is at work, so we're anticipating a little bit of video bombing and a little bit of an informal festival vibe. I know that lots of people, lots of our speakers have got their kids at home as well. So we're just going to kind of bear with and be gentle on everybody. So all the talks, apart from the open mics in the evening, are going to be here on Crowdcast. It's recording hopefully automatically, and as soon as the live finishes, the replays will be available on the same link. So you know, if you've particularly enjoyed a session or anything like that, you can click on that link and share it with friends and family on social media and things like that. So please do keep sharing and letting people know that you're enjoying it and the things that you found useful. Have a pen and paper available to scribble down any kind of light bulb moments, any aha moments, any actions that you want to take. And on that note, this festival is all about action. It's all about imperfect action. So what I haven't got around to doing, but I'm going to do today, is there's a pledge wall, an online pledge wall that I've discovered that you guys can come, and I will put the link up, and you guys can come and make a pledge of an action you're going to take as a result of a talk you've watched or as a result of the whole festival. Because wouldn't it be amazing to have 2,000 pledges of even just one action each that people are going to take as a result of this festival? Like what a difference that would make. And it's really, then we can see how kind of cumulatively these things really do make a difference. So yeah, grab a pen and paper and please note down any actions that you're going to take. Please share, you know, if there's any actions that you're going to take as they occur to you during talks and things like that, or come and share after the talk in the Facebook group. And I suppose I should really introduce myself. Just done all that big long spiel. I'm Jen. I run Sustainableish, which sounds a bit grand, doesn't it, saying I run it? I have a website and a podcast called Sustainableish, all about imperfect eco action, easy eco action. The ish in Sustainableish I will talk to you about in a minute, but is kind of front and center there and is really, really important, and I think is part of how we make sustainable living accessible and non-threatening and non-judgmental and easy for everybody to get involved in. So my journey began 8 years ago now, maybe coming up for 8 years ago. I randomly slightly decided to spend a year buying nothing new with the family, and our kids were kind of 3 and 1 or something at the time. And yeah, started to blog about that year, kept a blog, actually ended up blogging every day for the year, which was way harder than not buying anything new. And it was, as cliched as it sounds, a real life-changing experience. It not only changed, how we shopped and where we shopped, but it really changed how I see my place in the world, which sounds a bit worthy, but I think lots of us believe that as individuals or as families, there's very little we can do to have an impact on the climate crisis. But it made me realize that actually every day we're making choices, consciously or unconsciously, an awful lot of them unconsciously, and that actually each one of those choices has an impact. And we get to decide. There's that brilliant Jane Goodall quote, isn't there, about every day you make a difference and you get to decide what kind of difference you make. And it really, for me, boils down to that. So, all of our choices have an environmental impact, and we get to decide whether we make a slightly different choice. And I'm not saying that we're perfect and we make the best choice every single time. We're absolutely not at all. We are very hot on the ish. But I think if we can all start to make better choices more of the time, then that's, absolutely what we're aiming for. So that is the kind of goal. And so I spent that year buying nothing new, had some amazing experiences like doing a TEDx talk, and wrote some pieces for The Guardian, was on the local radio, had a little regular slot on the local radio, was on the local TV. So lots of really exciting things came out of it. And it just made, and at the end of the year, I just couldn't kind of go back to the way we work and unpick all that learning, all those things I discovered, like fast fashion and resource depletion and plastic pollution and waste, and kind of go back to the way we were consuming quite unthoughtfully beforehand. So we still do buy new stuff now. We're not bound by the same kind of rules we had. But I think when we do buy new, it's a much more of a conscious, thoughtful decision. I think so many of our consumption decisions are unconscious. So we go into Lidl's for a pint of milk and we end up, walking out with a fence sprayer, or we go to IKEA for something and we walk through the market hall and you have those tea lights. Everybody comes out with the tea lights. Nat says she's on month 11 of no new clothes. It's life-changing, amazing, Nat. That's absolutely brilliant. So if you have got any questions, pop them into the chat. If you've got any questions about our year buying nothing new or any of that, pop them into the chat. So yeah, it kind of continued. Originally, the blog was called My Make, Do and Mend Year. Then it was My Make, Do and Mend Life. And then eventually kind of switched to Sustainableish, which just feels like home. Everybody seems to get it. Everybody seems to love the ish. So that's amazing. And then I guess the most, or one of the most exciting things that happened is my book. So that came out January this year. The Sustainableish Living Guide came out January this year, published by Bloomsbury. So 8 years 8 years in the making. But yeah, that is kind of the distillation of all things Sustainableish. If anybody does want some ideas and things, it's split into 12 chapters. So we've got fashion, we've got family, we've got home, we've got work, we've got food, all kinds of things. And at the end of every chapter, as we're talking about action, there's an action box there for people to write down their actions that they want to do. So she says she must get the book back from her daughter. Heather's also done a year buying nothing new and still only replaced what I have to. And I think that's one of the really interesting things about this situation that we're in at the moment, is that we've all almost been forced to slow down our consumption, haven't we? Because, we're only supposed to be going out for essentials. My hope is that we've realized that actually it's not that bad. I can't remember what the stats are, but fast fashion consumption is down, I don't know, like 40% or something. So we're suddenly realizing that maybe we don't need new clothes every week or every month or anything like that. And all the things that we would just pick up when we're popping out to the shops and things, that's all really slowed. And we're suddenly having this much greater appreciation for the things that we've already got around us. We've got a session later on in the week with Alessia about, upcycling and altering your existing wardrobe, because we're all suddenly looking at our wardrobes with fresh eyes and realizing, we kind of got to make do with what's in there. And I think the same applies to lots of our stuff around the home. I think lots of people have been getting inventive with the stuff they've been using for gardening or for crafts for the kids. And we've got a session later on in the week with Anna with some eco-friendly crafts to do for the kids using the stuff we've already got hanging around. So I think, my hope is that that's one of the silver linings that will come out of this great big cloud. And also, I think, there's been lots of reports saying that food waste is dropping. People are really getting into, using up everything that they've got in the fridge, shopping much more carefully, meal planning, all those kinds of things. And that's huge, because food waste is a massive contributor to the climate crisis. And we've got a panel on food waste later on in the week. So Beth is doing a no new year at the moment. She started in January. That is amazing. And she's only wearing a small percentage of the clothes you have during lockdown, mainly pajamas. I think a lot of us, if we're honest, or maybe we're all dressing from the top up, the Zoom calls and things like that. And we've all got our pajamas on underneath. So we're all about action. We're all about, so here we go. Danny Dorling's book, Slow Down. That sounds interesting. Expands on moving away from just-in-time manufacturing. That sounds really exciting. Yes, Annalise, food waste is dropped now. People have calmed down from bulk buying. You're absolutely right. I've completely lost my thread. So yes, Sustainableish. Let's talk a little bit about Sustainableish, what that means, how you can apply that to yourself. Oh, sorry, the timings were a bit wrong in Australia. Might be upset by British summertime or something, maybe. I think there's an awful lot of green stereotypes, aren't there? There's this, if any of you are a similar age to me, you might remember Swampy, who was somebody, I think, protesting the Newbury bypass and went and lived in a tree and was your stereotypical kind of dreadlocked eco warrior. And I think there's that green living stereotype. And then I think there's also more recently the kind of minimalist, zero waste, lots of glass mason jars, lots of lovely polished concrete and wood and things like that. And neither of those stereotypes kind of speak to me. They're not particularly appealing for me, and I guess for a lot of the sort of mainstream as well. I think what we need to do is we need to challenge those stereotypes, and we need to show people that ordinary people can get on and can make a difference and can do things, and that we don't need to turn our lives upside down by, going and living off grid or, being completely zero waste or living plastic free or anything like that, that we can still make a difference by making some kind of easy tweaks. And I'm going to give you some easy actions that you can do at the end of the talk as well. So I talk when I do sort of talks and things for I do some corporate talks, and I do community group talks and school talks and things like that, and I talk about, I think we often imagine that there's this kind of green hierarchy. There's this triangle of greenness, and at the bottom there's the very, very pale green, and we're working our way up to the uber crunchy greenest of green at the top, and it's a very straight linear line. And it's not like that at all. It's more like, I don't know if you can see where it says Jen at the bottom of the screen. I can see it. I don't know if you guys can see it. And there's that messy green splodge. It's more like that. We can all be different shades of green in different areas of our lives. We can be different shades of green on different days of the week. We can be different shades of green during a global pandemic, So to me, it's all about that. And it's all about being really kind to ourselves, being really kind to others, accepting that we know we're all starting from different places. We all have our own unique set of challenges and circumstances. That means we can't do X, but we can do Y, or our best might be somebody else's okay, or vice versa, and that is absolutely fine. It's okay. I don't think one of the things that always depresses is too strong a word, but always makes me feel a bit sad is, you know, when in lots of the Facebook groups, there'll be this kind of green bashing, and someone will come in and say, oh, I've just done this. Oh, well, actually, you should have done it like this, or you should have done this, or that's not really a great idea. And I think we need to be a lot less judgmental, a lot more accepting of each other's unique circumstances and things like that. So that is very much what Sustainableish is all about. Jack's just saying the best thing about lockdown is having more time to do and think, spending 90 minutes slowly shopping rather than grabbing the nearest thing. Sustainability does need more time, and that's been really interesting about this time as well, hasn't it? About, you know, so many more people baking, making bread, cooking from scratch, and has that all been purely for a lack of time? And I hope that once we realize that maybe actually it doesn't take that much more time, or maybe it does give us other benefits as well, that those things will continue once we get back to normal, whatever normal is going to look like. And I also think it's really important that we look at the things that we're doing now, this different normal that we're in at the moment, and think about which of those we want to take forwards, because we have this opportunity now to very consciously create a new normal for ourselves. So many of our habits are unconscious. We're doing them just because they're habits. We've fallen into them very unconsciously, very unthoughtfully. And now we've got a chance, you know, we've got this pause, or some people are pausing. If you're a key worker and you're not pausing, thank you. We've got this pause, and we've got time to very consciously pick back the things that we want to into our lives as we move forward. So, you know, if meal planning has really worked for you, can you keep that? If you've been able to cook from scratch a few times a week, can you keep that? And all the time around Sustainableish, none of these things have to be all or nothing. So, some things are more expensive when you're being sustainable, and we've got talk later on in the week about being Sustainableish on a budget. And so something like getting your milk delivered in glass bottles, that is more expensive than buying it from the supermarket. So can you do that just at the weekends? Can you do that 1 week in 4? How can you make it so that it's something that works for you, your budget, your family? I use the example a lot. We tried with shampoo bars, with soap, and it just really wasn't working for us and for the kids. So now we buy 5-litre bottles of shampoo, shower gel, conditioner from Faith in Nature online, and we decant them into smaller bottles. And it's not a plastic-free solution. It's not a 100% perfect solution, but it's a plastic-free-ish solution. It works for us, and it is reducing our plastic. So, have a think about how you can make these habits work for you. Beth's been listening to an audiobook about habits. Thank you, Nicholas, as the message resonates with ordinary people. I think that's what we do. Nicola says she loves Faith in Nature as well. None of these things have to be all or nothing. And I know we've got a talk on like nappies and things later on in the week. So again, when our kids were in nappies, they were in reusable nappies during the day, but it didn't work for them at night. So they were in disposables at night. And if we went on holiday, funnily enough, it was more of a holiday if they were in disposables and I wasn't having to worry about a washing machine and washing dirty nappies during the week. So, we would do things like that. So it's all about compromise and not making a rod for our own backs, not making it difficult. The last thing we want to do is end up resenting the changes that we've made, and kind of, and then just sort of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And I think as well, the other important thing is that, we're doing this step by step. So you might find that by the end of this festival, we've got, I haven't even counted them up, maybe 35, 40 talks. You might find that by the end of this festival, you are like, oh my God, there is so much stuff that I now feel like I should be doing. I just don't know where to start. So you pick one thing to start with. You work out how you can change that. You change it in a way that suits you. And then you pick the next one. And just making a start is the most powerful thing you can do, because it will give you the motivation and the momentum to make the next change and the next change and the next change. And you might already find that you're already doing loads of stuff, because I did a workshop earlier on this year before lockdown. And we spent a morning together, and loads of people, people came and they said, oh, I'm really embarrassed, I'm not really doing anything at the moment, and really need some help. And I got everyone at the beginning of the workshop, and this might be a really useful exercise for you guys to do now at the beginning of the festival. I got everybody at the beginning to write down all the things that they were already doing. And they were gobsmacked. They thought they were doing nothing, and actually they were already doing loads of really amazing stuff. So that's a really, really useful exercise for you to do, is to write down already all the things that you're already doing, and then we can start to think about the next step and the next step. So that's a really good thing to do. And then, yes, this step-by-step approach. So one of the exercises that I do with people is to get them to to pick an area to focus on first. Maybe you want to focus on plastics. Maybe you want to focus on food. Maybe you want to focus on clothes. So all those, just pick one area to focus on. And then, as I say, pick one thing. So if you've come out of this festival and you've got this massive list of things to do, like I said, just pick one thing. And nobody is expecting you to go from here to here by the end of the festival. I'm hoping that you'll go to here and that you will have made one change, and that you will have a lovely list of other changes that you want to make and pledges that you've made. But it's like running a marathon or going on a diet. You don't, if you go on a crash diet, you're like, I'm going to lose 3 stone or something, and you go on a really hardcore diet, chances are by week 2 you'll be fed up, you'll have thrown in the towel, and you'll have given up. Whereas if you try and incorporate nice healthy living changes that you can live with, that you don't feel too hard, then you're much more likely to stick with it, and you're much more likely to get to your end goal. So absolutely, this is step by step by step, and all the time. Nobody's expecting perfection. There is absolutely no judgment. Okay. So that brings us on to a little bit of imperfect action, and that's kind of the theme. It wasn't the theme that I didn't even think about a theme, if I'm honest, to start with, but it's something that feels really important to me to talk about. And I saw a brilliant quote the other day, and I'll try and share it in the group. Something about without action, nothing changes, and that's absolutely true. So we can read books, we can attend festivals, we can listen to talks, and none of that makes any difference unless you change something. So what I always do when I do talks is I invite people at the end to make a promise for the planet. There's no point you having sat here for an hour and listen to me unless something changes, and that's the whole point of having those action points at the end of every chapter of the book. We can read books about losing weight. We can have all the knowledge in the world about losing weight or getting fit or giving up smoking, but actually, unless we do something, nothing changes. And I think amazing Greta said something similar about yes, we need hope, but more than hope, we need action. So that is my absolute dream to come out of this, is that we have lots of action, lots of imperfect action. It doesn't matter if it's not the best decision. It doesn't matter if it's not the most amazing thing that someone else is doing. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. You pick one thing and you do it, and I will be absolutely delighted. If you've got any questions, we've got a few minutes left. I'm aiming to wrap this up by 9:30. So if you've got any questions or anything, I'm just going to scroll through the chat. Somebody saying they found out the festival through LinkedIn. Can you let me know what link to share with friends who are not on LinkedIn to find about the festival? Oh, somebody's done it for me. Michael, you are wonderful. So Michael's just put that link down there. That's the page on the website with all the links to it. Emma says there's also a share button on the right hand side. So presumably you can share this this talk as we're going. Judith, one of the quotes I like is, our arms are so long we can't see what our hands are doing. Oh, it's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one before. There's also, Alessia saying the Sustainableish pop-up Facebook group. Yes, it's definitely like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? That is really, really important. Michael says the commitment curve is useful thing to think about. If you do the simple, easy thing first, you're more likely to take on the next thing. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big fan of going for the low-hanging fruit. So that means doing the easiest things first. So in terms of plastic, we'd be talking about the big 4, which is coffee cups, plastic water bottles, shopping plastic bags and straws. So those are the 4 most commonly used things, and if you can replace them with reusables, then and remember to use them, okay, that is really the key thing, and remember to use them, then you're having a really big impact, and those are quite easy changes to make. And a lot of this, we touched on habits and how we've fallen into all these unconscious habits. A lot of these things is about creating new habits. So getting into the habit once we're back at work of taking your reusable coffee cup with you, because I'm sure we've all got one. There's a statistic from Hubbub, an environmental charity, saying that 69% of us have reusable coffee cups, but only 1 in 6 of us apparently remember to take them with us when we're oh no, don't do that. It's asking me to do an update. Only 1 in 6 of us remember to take them with us every single time. So getting into, how can you make this habit stick? How can you hook it onto an existing habit? So, whether you put a Post-it note on your phone saying reusable cup, because you will always pick your phone up when you go out. So how we can think about, making these new habits stick. And I promised you some easy actions to take as a result of this talk. So I've got a blog post and I can share it in the group, which is kind of 5 easy things you can do from your sofa, which I wrote, I don't know, a couple of weeks into lockdown, where I was like, oh, I can't do anything. Everything's really hard. I don't like it. So first and foremost, switch your energy supplier if you have the capacity to do that. So there's a belief, I guess, that it would be more expensive, but I did a big switching campaign with my community in September last year, and somebody saved £300. So there's a really good website called bigcleanswitch.org. And if you go on there, it's an energy comparison site. Grab a recent bill so you get an accurate quote, and just pop all your details in there, and it will come up with a list of quotes for you, and you can pick the one you like the best. If you want the greenest of green energy in the UK, Ecotricity and Good Energy are the ones to go with, but they might be a little bit more expensive. And then there's a list of other companies on there that are doing really good stuff. And like I said, you probably will save you money. It will take you less than 10 minutes, and it could slash your carbon footprint by up to a quarter if you switch to renewable electricity and carbon offset gas. So that is, and once you've done it, it's done. You can just kind of sit back and feel smug. So please, if we could get, I don't know, even 10% of people, in the Facebook group switching, that'd be 200 switches. That would be absolutely phenomenal. So that's number 1, switch your energy supplier. Number 2, switch your browser to Ecosia, ECOSIA, and it uses its ad revenue to plant trees. So basically, every time you do an internet search, you're planting trees. So you can get the app for your phone, and all I did is then drag that into the place where Safari normally is. So it's the default where my thumb goes to. You can upload it on your laptop and your desktop as well. So that's a really nice, easy switch to do as well. Again, I've got a blog post that talks you through how to do it, so I will share that in the group. What other things are on my list? Meal planning. I think lots of us are meal planning at the moment because, we're maybe only shopping. Sarah says she loves Ecosia. We're only shopping once a week, ideally. So meal planning is really important. Food waste is a massive issue. If food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd biggest emitter of global greenhouse gases, behind the USA and China. And 50% of food waste occurs in the home. So that's one of these things where you think, God, we are so powerful. We have a huge amount of power as householders to change this, to switch this thing around. And meal planning is a really key part of that. Have a look in the before you do your shopping list and see what's already in the freezer, in the fridge, in the freezer, in the cupboards. Then make a meal plan, and then make your shopping list from there. And hopefully we're all getting really good at using up our leftovers and things. So we've got switch your energy supplier. We have got switch to Ecosia. We have got meal planning. My mind's gone completely blank, so I'm just going to make up another couple. We've got a session later on in the week about switching your money, moving your money, which does feel like a really big thing. It's one of the things I keep putting off, but I'm a really big fan of the fact that as consumers, You know, when we spend our money, there's this lovely quote about where every time you spend money, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want. And I find that really helpful when I'm out shopping. But I kind of forgot, it took me a long time to realize that, you know, when our money's in our current accounts or our savings accounts or our pensions, it might be being invested in things that we would never in a million years want to support, like fossil fuels and arms and tobacco. So actually, you know, switching your current account and or your savings to ethical ones. So Triodos are the market leader here in the UK. I think are the kind of probably there's probably a couple of other options, but they are very much the best one. So, you know, moving your money, maybe you could make that your pledge for this week. We've got a session later on in the week with Becky O'Connor from Good With Money. Have a look at the Good With Money website. So that's a really good one to do. And yes, you can do it from your sofa. And at the moment, it's No Mo May. I quite like the way that No Mo May. So the idea is that you don't mow your lawn for May. Like, awesome. My husband's not so impressed, actually. He quite likes mowing the lawn. He quite likes it to look tidy. But our compromise, again, is to leave, you know, some strips that are unmown. So he gets his nice bit that looks a bit tidy, and then we've got some untidy strips around the edges. So again, you know, that's a kind of ish approach to it. And so yeah, so let me know when using Ecosia, if you add #G onto the end of your search, it gives you Google search results while still planting trees. Now, I've never noticed that the Ecosia search results are any worse than Google, but yeah, somebody's dropped a link in there for Project Drawdown. One of the solutions is reduced waste, and we've got a talk on Project Drawdown at 11 o'clock, I think, today. She says, looking around frantically for her schedule. Somebody said, check out Nutmeg, great sustainability-based investment accounts. Oh, I love that, Emma. The Eden Project in Cornwall has a sign above their till saying your wallet is your weapon. Ah, that's good. We're doing No Mo May. Well done, Julie. Michael says, also ask your pension provider to invest ethically. Yes, and the pension pot in the UK is literally worth trillions of pounds. And I hadn't realised that, you know, if you have a workplace pension, most of us, when we started work, will have been said, do you want to sign up to the workplace pension? Yes. Are you happy with our default scheme? Yes, because it's boring and it's dull and it's grown up and we can't be asked to do any kind of research ourselves. But actually, you can ask your workplace who your pension is with, and if you're not happy with, and you can do a bit of research online to find out what those investments are in, and if you're not happy with that, you can ask for your pension, your work pension, to be moved into an ethical thing, which I hadn't realized you can do. So that is, you know, a lot of us think, oh, our hands are tied with a workplace pension, we can't move it. Actually, it's your pension, you can do what you like with it. So you can ask for it to be moved into an ethical investment. And if you've got questions about that, then hopefully Becky will be able to answer them for you later on in the week. Oh, so do let me know what, you know, if there's any changes that you're going to make out of those 5 that I've just suggested, or anything else. And I'm going to pop that pledge wall up into the group so that you can come and you can make your pledge on there. And like I said, wouldn't it be amazing to have 2,000 pledges on the wall by the end of this week? Because, oh my goodness, what an impact that would be. Let me see if anything else. No, it doesn't seem that there's any other questions. I may well have missed some questions. Let me just scroll through. But there's loads in the chat. This replay is going to be available, so if you want to watch it again, you can watch it again. And I think it lets you see the chat again, so you can kind of scroll through, because there's so much information in there, which is amazing. Thank you guys for coming. All of the so yeah, I think you should be able to have, if you go on the replay, you should be able to come and to hit on those links and to find them all. Someone else has shared 52climateactions.com, inspired by Project Drawdown. I was in touch with one of the people who was the co-created that, I think, in the week, and we just run out of space on the schedule to fit it in. But yeah, that would have been an amazing talk. So it usually doesn't on software like Zoom. Yeah, I hope this is one of the differences of Crowdcast, Michael, that it shares the chat. It shares the chat on the replay as well. Oh, ask a question. Some people have found that ask a question box. Let me find it. Just discovered you can send the 5-litre bottles back to Faith in Nature and they will reuse. Yeah, I don't know if they reuse them or they recycle them. I've seen a few kind of posts saying, oh, they don't reuse them, but definitely good. We started off one room at a time going plastic free. That's a really good tip. And I think the bathroom is the easiest place to start. And I know lots of people are really frustrated about their shopping, especially at the moment, because we've got fewer options and things, and the amount of plastic that you see. But reducing food waste, food packaging plastic is one of the hardest things, I think. So, start with the bathroom, go with the low hanging fruit. Will the links you've mentioned be a note somewhere? I don't think that I'm going to have time this week to be able to do that. But I will share as many of the ones that I'll put that blog post up about 5 easy things that you can do from the sofa, which will have all the links in. And I will put that in the Facebook group, which if any of you guys aren't in it is Sustainableish Festival pop-up, I think. You can long press on a link in the chat and add to reading list. That is very clever. If you're watching on an iPad or iPhone, you can long press a link in the chat and add it to your reading list. Brenda says she loves her local zero waste shops. Zero waste shops are amazing. If you check out, there's a website called Zero Waste Near Me, zerowastenearme.me, I think. And you should be able to find your local zero waste shop on there. And they will do lots of stuff packaging free, and so many of them have been doing amazing things, staying open, keeping people supplied during this crisis. So a huge thanks to them. All of the talks for the festival are free, absolutely open access to anybody. If you do want to support the festival, help us to cover costs and help us to carbon offset it, then we have got a coffee cart. Let me see if I can find the link to share with you. It's in the Facebook group, but I will just see if I can share it with you. It's probably not going to make it. I'll share it with you in the Facebook group, or if anybody can grab it for me now, that would be super helpful. Yeah, if you can, buy a coffee, or a couple if you can afford to, but there is absolutely no pressure, because I know lots of people are really struggling at the moment in terms of money and things like that. So is there another question? A thumbs up. Good. So I hope that's been helpful, guys. A bit of a mishmash of a kind of introduction to me, an introduction to the festival, an introduction to the concept of Sustainableish, an introduction to Imperfect Action. And like I said, I really would love you guys to come and to share in the Facebook group, share on your social media. We've got a talk later on today about everyday activism. And I think one of the things that we can all do, oh, thank you, Michael. He's popped the coffee cart link in there. Thank you. One of the things that we can all do as activists, and I don't, the term activist doesn't really resonate with me. It feels a bit too shouty. But, I firmly believe we are all activists in the things we do every day. And one of the things that we can do, a really powerful thing to do to amplify the impact of the changes that we're making, is to share them with friends and family. Because I think when we see the likes of Greta or I don't know, Chris Packham or somebody like that telling us the things that we ought to be doing to be green, we can, if we're not into that message, there can be a tendency to zone out and to assume that it's not for us. When we see those messages coming from ordinary people like us, from people we relate to, from friends at school, from whatever, suddenly we're like, oh, actually, well, if they can do it, then I can probably have a go at that as well. Or that's really helpful. And it really helps to normalize it as well. It really helps to make people realize that it isn't just the eco warriors. It isn't just the zero waste minimalists who are doing these things. That everyday ordinary people like us are doing these things as well. So the more that we can share that, the more that we can inspire other people to make these changes as well. And I talk, about these dropping a pebble into the pond. Georgina from Pebble Magazine is joining us on one of the panels, and we drop a pebble into the pond and it creates these ripples of change that spread. And that's what we want to do. So yes, Sue says the rain held off wellies not needed. It is a bit cooler at the moment. I hope everybody was all right in the campsite last night. It's going to be cooler this week. Don't think we're going to need our sun cream. We're going to need some extra blankets around the campfire this evening. So Claire says we're all apprentices. Absolutely we are. Thank you guys for joining in. I've gone over time. I knew I would. Thank you for joining the festival. Thank you for joining the session today. It's blowing my mind. I know we're going to have an amazing week, and I will do my best to pop as many of those links as possible into the Facebook group. So do come and join us. And yeah, we'll see you for the next session at 10 o'clock. Take care, guys.